LLC, Pest Geek Podcast, Living the Wildlife Podcast, Stephen M. Vantassel, or their or his affiliates are not responsible for followers' use of the information provided here. Hi everyone, Stephen Vantassel here, Wildlife Control Consultant, bringing you another episode of Living the Wildlife as part of the Pest Geek Podcast family. Glad to have you on board. I hope you've had a great week. Today is Friday, Veterans Day. Do take a few moments, if you would, and think about the veterans who have served this country and have sacrificed. So even though Veterans Day is for all veterans, I believe Memorial Day is for those that have died in battle. Veterans Day is certainly something we need to honor here in the United States. So do take a few moments, if you would, as well, to sign up for the podcast. Make sure you ring the bell and join our particular group. I do post on Rumble as well. You can get that at Wildlife Control Consultant, Wildlife Control Consultant, and you can sign up there as well to get my podcast there, or you can get it through iTunes. So Pest Geek Podcast posts there through iTunes. And of course, through the Pest Geek Podcast site. And then I post my presentations up on Rumble. So you won't get, I will only be posting the vertebrate portion. So with Pest Geek Podcast, of course, you're going to get all of the material, both the insect and the vertebrate side of things, because of Franklin's work, of course, with the insect side, and I do primarily the vertebrate side. All right, well, enough of all that. So let's talk about what I wanted to talk about today, which was images. I am passionate about images, and I think it is so important for us to have ways to... Let me back up. I wish that more wildlife control operators took photos. Those of you listening to the podcast, I am always looking to purchase use rights of photos rather than ownership rights. And so what is the difference to that? So let's talk about a little bit about copyright side of things. So copyright, when you take a photograph, you own that photograph. That photograph is yours. That's part of your creative project. So that becomes your property. You can sell the ownership of that property to someone else, which means that you could only use it if you got the new owner's permission. Think of it like a piece of land. If you owned land, you can sell the land, and if you sold the land to someone else, you would no longer own the land, and you would need permission from the landowner to use that land if you wanted to. Now, use rights is you're sort of like a renter, or perhaps a better analogy would be sort of like purchasing a record or a song in iTunes, where you don't own that particular song, but you have purchased the rights to use that song. For example, I have a cell phone here, and I have music on my cell phone, and I've purchased through an online store, but I don't own the song. I own the right to listen to the song. That's use rights. In other words, I can't sell that song and get royalties from it because it's not mine, any more than you can take an album that someone else produced and sell it to someone and have it played on the radio, and you get the royalties. That's just not how it works. Now, you can sell the actual phonograph, not the phonograph, but the disc, for example, the record, but that just means that person now is able to listen to the song, but they don't own any more than you owned when you sold it. So what that all means is that if I buy the use rights of a photo, let's say you take a photo of a raccoon and I like it, I am purchasing the ability to use that particular image for my uses, but I can't then turn around and sell that again because it's not my photo. I am just purchasing the rights to use the photo, not to resell the photo. You own the photo. you can sell the use rights to someone else if you decided to do that. And so, but you may say, well, Stephen, how am I supposed to prove that you haven't done X, Y, and Z with the photo and you've resold it on me? How do I maintain control? That's a great question. So one of the things that you can do is put in what's known as a watermark. So let me pull up on on some of my photos where I have a watermark. So give me a moment here as I pull it up. So a watermark is where you put like a logo or a name that's embedded into the image itself. It becomes part of the photo. It's sort of like, we don't really see this much anymore, but paper, at least quality paper, has a watermark in it that would often tell you who manufactured the paper. So that would be a way to prove that it's a way of marketing that particular paper, and you would, if you produced it, it helps market your company, right? It's a way of advertising. But you can also watermark a paper to show that this is the official stationery of, let's say, the President of the United States or the official president of a corporation. That it's a way of trying to prove that whether a document is original or not. Now, we use stamps today, but in the ancient world, they would also use rings